The closing credits sequence. A full list of the cast and crew of a particular motion picture, television show, or video game that appear to close or end a piece of work. A lot of people see credits as nothing more than a bore. Just something else to skip over, your cue to leave the theater. Most times, sure, yeah, that is the case. But in some select media, there are credit sequences that aren't as boring as you may think. There are a handful of sequences that seem as if they were specially handcrafted to remind the viewer or the player just how memorable their experience was. Take mid-credit scenes in movies, for example. Most times these sequences are big, colorful segments that credit the leading cast and main teams behind the film before cutting into the main white text on black background credits that most are used to. And a lot of the times these mid-credit scenes are usually what credits in video games are, but it's like that for the whole duration of the sequence. In my eyes, the ending credits or staff roll of a video game is extremely important, as you're actively witnessing a celebration of not only the game itself, but also the ones who crafted the experience for you. There's something that's comforting about being able to read about all the talented people who made the game, accompanied by recaps of major events from the game with specially composed pieces of music. It's because of those details that allow these scenes to remain iconic for the years that follow the game's release, making them memorable so that when you return to the game years later and complete it, you'll get a familiar sense of comfort that you've once again completed this experience. Now, there's no other credits that I can think of that mostly have this level of passion and awe than the credit sequences from Mario Kart games. Mario Kart games are already extremely memorable as is, from the playable characters, chaotic items, intricate courses, just everything. And for the most part, the credits of these games wrap the whole experience up with a lovely bow on top. Most times the series credits will feature motifs of the respective game's main theme or medley of specific courses. They'll sometimes also feature dynamic camera angles and shots of the tracks that were once thought impossible, but made possible due to developer cameras. This video is meant to recapture and highlight these scenes from every mainline Mario Kart, and refresh the minds of those who may have forgotten them, reminding them of what made them special. So with that explanation out of the way, let's get started. Beginning with the one that started it all, Super Mario Kart. This game's credits start once you complete the Special Cup on any engine class from 100cc or higher. For being the first game in the series, the credits aren't as crazy comparatively to the later ones covered in this video, but they're still memorable nonetheless. Just think of these credits as a stepping stone for what's going to come in roughly a decade or more. The footage for these credits is a montage of the full playable roster driving through each track theme in the game. These themes are Mario Circuit, Donut Plains, Ghost Valley, Bowser Castle, Choco Island, Koopa Beach, Vanilla Lake, and lastly, Rainbow Road. The camera revolves around the drivers in this scene, which is a primary example of how the programmers made use of dynamic developer camera angles, which we'll continue to see going forward. The credits end with every character jumping with joy as the text "Thank you" drops on screen. It's a quick but memorable credit sequence that sets us up for what the rest of the series has to offer. It's because of Super Mario Kart's legacy that makes these credits special. Next up is one of my personal favorites, and one game that I hold close to my heart, Mario Kart 64. This game's credits play when you complete both the Special Cup on 150cc and the Special Cup on Mirror Mode. In a similar format to Super's, these credits take you through all 16 courses in the game. Not entirely in order though. There's something really magical with these credits. For being the second Mario Kart game ever, this one completely blew Super's credits out of the park. From the N64's recognizable visuals, to the spectacular camera work showcasing angles of courses we never thought we'd see, to the damn music, man! The N64 sound is just so iconic, and this is easily one of the best songs in the game's soundtrack. I think Mario Kart 64 was the third installment in the series I played, with DS and Wii being my first two. And needless to say, my mind was blown when I reached the credits for the first time. I was obsessed with these credits as a kid. Before I had access to a physical copy, I emulated the game. And after I reached those credits, I definitely took to YouTube to find them, and most likely listened to them for quite some time growing up. I think I had the still shot from Koopa Troopa Beach as my desktop wallpaper for a bit too, but I may be mistaken. There are two other sets of credits I also listened to a lot as a kid, but those are for later in the video. I personally believe that MK64's credits are still one of the best credit sequences in the series, let alone the Mario franchise, which may be a bit of a bold take. This game definitely aged well, and it shows thanks to how impactful these credits are, and sometimes how emotional these credits make some of us feel. This feeling is present in a lot of players' minds, not only for Mario Kart 64, but for other installments as well. And that only demonstrates how impactful these scenes can be. The credits conclude with a Super Mario 64 Easter egg from Royal Raceway, ending on a still frame of Peach's castle, with Mario complimenting the player as the end appears on screen. A perfect ending to one of the best games in the N64's library.
Hey, you very good. See you next time.
Following suit 5 years later, we've got Mario Kart Super Circuit. The Game Boy Advanced SP and the DS were the first two consoles I ever owned. Or handhelds if you want to put it that way. But in all the generations of the DS that I could have played Super Circuit on, I never owned it. Two of my good friends, Shilbs and Trixator, owned it, so I got to witness some of what the game had to offer, but to this day I've yet to actually play the game from start to finish. Personal regrets aside though, Super Circuit's credits play after you complete the Special Cup on any engine class. The credit sequence is very similar to Super Mario Kart's, then again, the entire game is basically handheld Super Mario Kart. The credits only showcase you, as in the character who you chose to race with, simply highlighting you. Now here's where it gets a little confusing. I'm not too sure how the game determines who the 4 racers are at the beginning of the scene, as well as what course it decides to display for the entire duration of the credits. I've seen a handful of videos of the credits, some playing the same character, but different tracks are shown. The game autosaves your best times for Grand Prix, so maybe it takes the track you have the best time on and uses it in the credits. If anybody out there understands the algorithm behind the game's credits, then please let me know in the comments. Either way, the credits end with thanking Intelligent Systems for development, as they co-developed the game, and Rareware for providing the DK model, just like Mario Kart 64 did, before transitioning to black. Another pretty solid credit sequence. Mario Kart Double Dash. What a fantastic title in the GameCube's library. Shoutouts to Brisky_Cypher, as this is his favorite Mario Kart game in the series. Anyways, Double Dash's credits play when you complete the Special Cup and All Cup Tour on any engine class. The credits themselves are short but sweet. They lean a bit towards the more basic side compared to the past 3, but there's nothing wrong with it being simple. Throughout the duration of the credits, we can see a handful of character and kart pairings driving across the screen in multiple directions, while leaving a small trail of sparkles and stars behind them as the credits roll. Normally the character combinations shown are ones from promotional material from the box art and pre-release renders, combos such as Mario and Luigi on the Red Fire or Yoshi and Birdo on the Turbo Yoshi. I'll tell you though, it is super relieving to see these credits once All Cup Tour is completed. When going through All Cup Tour, Rainbow Road will always be the last course you race on, and it's a tough one. Plus, playing through all 16 courses is pretty time consuming as is, so it's really worth it to finish All Cup Tour and have a moment to breathe later. The credits end with Mario and Luigi driving through and past the camera off into the darkness, before fading into a "thanks for playing" screen. A series first. This snapshot is on Mario's circuit, and we can see every playable character present in some shape or form, with the parade cart also present in the background. This thank you screen starts a trend that will continue to appear in all subsequent titles going forward. A calm and relaxing but also very memorable credit sequence. Welcome to the halfway mark. Next up is my favorite installment in the series, Mario Kart DS. The credits play when you complete the Special Cup and Lightning Cup on any engine class. On the bottom screen are the actual credits themselves, almost like a film would have. Meanwhile on the top screen we have Mario driving in the standard MR with a beautiful sunset cast off in the distance. Near the halfway point of the scene, we see Donkey Kong drive past Mario, only going slightly faster than Mario, who's driving at a leisurely pace. That's followed up by Toad, Bowser, Wario, Yoshi, Luigi, and after a little while longer, Peach, who's almost driving at the same speed as Mario, just barely passing by. To me, these credits have an aura that just screams peace and happiness, a warm, comforting, childlike feeling. Like the drive back home after a long, tiring day, the sense of completion that you can finally relax knowing the goal has been met. I remember as a kid I'd be driving home with my parents late at night, coming back home from visiting family who lived like over 2 hours away, and I had just completed the Lightning Cup on 150cc after grinding it all night long just to get a 3-star ranking. I blame my bad skill for my age at the time, but you get the point. Now normally at the end of these credits you get a nice thanks for playing screen with Mario and Peach, but if you complete every Grand Prix Cup, meaning Mushroom 2 Lightning Cup, on every engine class, then you'll be rewarded with this special thanks for playing screen, featuring the whole playable roster on Figure 8 circuit, exactly like the Double Dash 1 did prior. It's always so cool to see Rob in amongst the regular cast. I'm hoping he makes a return one day. Mario Kart DS is my personal favorite Mario Kart, meaning by extension these are the most memorable credits to me, simply due to my personal attachment to the game, all thanks to how much time I've sunk into it. But it's moments like the example I gave earlier that make Mario Kart's credits so picture perfect. I can recall my memories about Mario Kart DS due to the credits here as an example, and there are plenty other examples from so many kids who played different Mario Karts growing up, which only proves my point that these scenes invoke this type of emotion. But the best part about all this is the fact that the next 4 installments in the series completely blow DS's credits out of the water. These credits will forever be memorable to me and to many other people who grew up with the DS. It's hands down my favorite. Following the DS and the 7th generation of consoles, Nintendo's next home console brought forth a golden age of Mario Kart, with none other than Mario Kart Wii. Alongside DS, I'd say this is definitely the most loved installment in the franchise. In the original version of the script, I wrote it in as most popular, but clearly a Deluxe obliterates Wii's numbers by just a small, 34 million sales. Getting back on track, this game's credits play when you complete the Lightning Cup on any engine class. Now, Mario Kart Wii is a bit of a special case here, and that's because it actually has 2 credit scenes compared to every previous game we've covered. The first set of credits start with the camera panning up from the starting line on Luigi circuit, Compared to when you normally race on the track, the credits version of this track takes place at sunset, which is a nice touch in my opinion. It's similar to DS's in that way. Your me on the standard bike drives into frame, while suddenly, one by one, the 11 remaining racers will drive past you, creating a V shape in the road, right before the last turn of the track. As they take the lower route, you take the higher route with the boost panels, soaring past all the other racers, finishing in first place. The camera pans up towards the orange sky before fading to black. Then roll the second set of credits, which are a more traditional set of credits compared to the first set. These display the typical staff roll along with snippets of clips from every track in the game. The clips are ordered from first Nitro and Retro pairing to the next, meaning all tracks from Mushroom Cup for Nitro, then all tracks from Shell for Retro. And if you still don't understand, that's Mushroom Shell, then Flower Banana, etc. And just like the previous two installments, the credits end on a special screen. This time, instead of thanks for playing, like we've been getting before, it's congratulations, featuring Mario Kart Wii's massive roster of 24 characters on Luigi's circuit. These credits are very special in multiple ways. They're special just like the previous 5 credits I've covered, but also how these credits are really the first taste the series gets when it comes to the theme of celebrating the game and the player's experience. Like DS, the first set of credits specifically highlight the player's journey, climbing from the very bottom all the way to the top. And the second set of credits highlight every single track in the game, and it's accompanied by a grand, upbeat piece of music that really closes in on the whole theme. Both of Mario Kart Wii's credits will forever go down as one of the best in the series, and paves the way for bigger and better credit sequences going forward. An absolute classic. Next up is Mario Kart 7. Here's one for the younger generation watching my content, as I can prove my point here greatly. Since those who grew up with this game will almost certainly have the same feeling I had for DS's credits, and for the generation below me who had the same feelings for Mario Kart 64's. Mario Kart 7's credits play after you complete the Special Cup and Lightning Cup on any engine class. The credits start with 8 racers lined up at Mario Circuit's starting line, with Mario in the B-Dasher taking the lead. Most of the scenes throughout the credits are snippets of the playable roster in order from Mario to Yoshi, then it switches to a bunch of random characters. But don't worry, everybody on the playable roster does get a chance to shine in one way or the other throughout the sequence. The music this time around takes a twist on what we've heard before. The past entries I've covered were mostly electronic, like Supers, Super Circuits, and DS's, but others, while still electronic, will sound sort of like an orchestral piece, like 64's, Double Dash's, and most recently Wii's credits. This time, however, the music is a beautifully orchestrated piece consisting of a lot of jazz-oriented instruments. You can prominently hear the saxophone, which absolutely carries the song, but also a piano, bass guitar, and drums that accompany it. This piece is easily one of the best sounding. I get nostalgia, but you cannot deny that this is one of the better songs on the list. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this is the first credits in the series to use the game's main theme, like the title screen theme, as a motif. It happens around the halfway mark of the credits, just as the gliders are showcased. Gliding and underwater driving were the two main gimmicks that 7 had to offer outside of kart customization. And it's brilliant that the credits will highlight this feature through using the game's title screen music as a motif, reminding the player of 7's uniqueness and how it stands out amongst the rest. The credits conclude with a quick montage of some characters gliding before finishing with Mario soaring through the twisted tube on the final section of Rainbow Road, as it fades to black with the game's title present on screen. And of course, it wouldn't be a Mario Kart credit sequence without a congrats screen at the end. So here on Toad's Circuit, the whole playable roster, now animated, thank the player before fading to black once more. Mario Kart 7's identity is important when comparing it to the rest of the series, and it's satisfying to watch the game's credits commemorate its uniqueness. Like I said previously, a lot of younger people watching this will have an attachment to this game, as it was probably their first Mario Kart, maybe their second if they played Wii previously, and I have an attachment to this game as well, even though the 3DS wasn't the generation I truly grew up with. Also, remember the jazz influence used on the soundtrack here, as it's going to carry over into the next installment. Another well-rounded credit sequence, and one of my personal favorites to this day.
Thanks for playing. You're the best. Ha ha.
We're in the home stretch now, and there's only 2 left to go. Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe are up next, and they are basically the same. The 2 games share the same credit sequences between the original Wii U version and the Switch port. Now, sorta similar to Wii's credits, Mario Kart 8 also has 2 credit sequences, but not in the same way that you think. MKWii has 2 separate distinct credits, while Mario Kart 8's are roughly identical. The first set of credits play after you complete the Special Cup and Lightning Cup on 50cc to Mirror Mode, and the other alternate set of credits play once you complete all of the DLC cups, being Egg, Crossing, Triforce, and the Bell Cups. Since both sequences are roughly the same, both follow a similar structure to each other and also kinda continue the same format that 7 had previously. The first set of credits start with the camera panning down towards the start of Mario Kart Stadium, and the second set starts at Mario's Circuit. Both begin with Mario front-running the race before cutting to the next character, and the next one after that. Both sets of credits follow the same beats as 7, showing off the majority if not the full character roster with tons of different kart combinations and a bunch of different tracks. Mario in the standard kart, Luigi on the Mach 8, and Peach on the standard bike are shown on both sets of credits, as those character and kart combinations are ones that are seen on a lot of the game's promotional art, which is handled similarly to Double Dash's credits. In the alternate set of credits, the focus is mostly on the DLC characters, karts, and tracks, giving them an opportunity to be shown off. I haven't spoken about the developer camera much recently, and for these 2 credits it's used excellently, as they don't actually use a developer camera. For the most part. There are some segments like the zoom-outs on GCN Dry Dry Desert and Wii Wario's Gold Mine that do use a developer camera, but for the majority, the credits take advantage of the Mario Kart TV camera system. The auto-replay fictional broadcasting station that records all your footage and shows it to you at the end of a cup. The credits take full advantage of this camera tool, and it looks stellar. Now let's talk about the music. As I mentioned at the end of 7's, the jazz influence stuck around once more for not only the game's credits, but a large majority of the game's soundtrack as a whole. It's predominantly heard on tracks such as the title screen, Dolphin Shoals, Mount Wario, GBA Mario Circuit, N64 Royal Raceway, and Mute City. The game's soundtrack does contain its fair share of stringed instruments and electronic segments, which are also showcased in the credits, though the saxophone and bass have no trouble hogging the spotlight at certain parts. Something that's really sick when talking about the credits music is that around the halfway mark, we get 3 back-to-back solo segments highlighting Electrodrome, Thwomp Ruins, and Mount Wario. This small showcase always stood out to me, as no other credits we've covered have had portions of the song dedicated to certain courses in the game. Plus, it seems super intentional that the developers knew these tracks would be fan favorites too. Both credits end on Mario heading for the finish line on either N64 Rainbow Road or 8's Rainbow Road, as the camera pans out and the game's logo transitions onto the screen. Unfortunately, to break the cycle, there's no congratulations screen. But regardless, it's still another beautiful set of credits that show off all of what the game has to offer and how your experience to the game is tied to it. Last but certainly not least, we have the credits for the Booster Course Pass DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. These credits start rolling once you've completed the Spiny Shell Cup, or if you've completed every single Booster Pass Cup on any engine class. The credits themselves are relatively basic. In tangent to the staff roll on the right side of the screen, there are stickers with the fictional in-game companies and photos with gameplay clips all attached to a corkboard. Though despite its simplicity, I think that the more I watch or listen to these credits, the more it's slowly becoming one of my favorites. To me, the Booster Pass's credits are what encompasses the whole meaning behind my point, and really served as the main inspiration behind why I wanted to make this video in the first place. The whole point I've been trying to highlight here is how the credits of the Mario Kart series celebrate the game itself as a whole, and how it celebrates the player's experience. And that is exactly what these credits accomplish. Not only does it celebrate these two concepts, but it celebrates 10 years of Mario Kart 8, 4 years of Mario Kart Tour, and possibly, if you dig deep enough, the Mario Kart series as a whole. The purpose of the Booster Course Pass was to preserve as much of Tour's Nitro Course content as possible for when the game's mobile servers eventually shut down. That's why there was so much Tour representation alongside the multitude of returning retro courses from the series past. If you've got a good ear, right away, you can hear that the beginning of the song starts with a remix of Super Mario Kart's credits until it switches to a medley of most of the Tour courses from Waves 1 to 6. In order, we hear Tokyo Blur, Ninja Hideaway, Berlin Byways, Singapore Speedway, Vancouver Velocity, Los Angeles Laps, Madrid Drive, Sky High Sunday, and finally coming back full circle to Super's credits once more. I never actually noticed the remix of Super's credits at first, but listening to it again only strengthens my point. When I watched this for the first time with my girlfriend, it came to how much of a surprise it was to witness at first, because of how unexpected it was. It genuinely made me tear up simply due to the fact of how long we've been playing Mario Kart 8 for, and how important the game as a whole is to me. It's nice to reflect on that, but also how we can look forward towards what the series has in store for the future. What's gonna come next at a Mario Kart? Will they keep the same 32-track Nitro Retro formula since DS? Will they add additional cups with a mix of Nitro and Retro tracks like the Booster Course Pass? To me, this was a send-off to the old Mario Kart formula, and how the next entry will be that next step forward that the series needs to evolve. In my eyes, it doesn't matter how basic the credits are, or how poorly handled the Booster Pass was quality-wise, these credits still accomplish the goal. The Booster Course Pass was a love letter to Mario Kart fans, and brought the course total to 96, the most the series has ever had in one installment. Another note, thankfully these credits make up for the base game not having a thank you or congratulations screen, as at the very end, there is one final thank you for the player taking place on N64 Rainbow Road, with as many characters as they can squeeze in. A lovely send-off to Mario Kart 8's 10-year run. No matter what Mario Kart game or console generation you grew up with, there's a great chance you've played one of these games for the first time, made it to the credits, and have felt accomplished at how far you've made it. That's what allows us to reflect on our experiences within these games, not only just to Mario Kart, but to any game you've ever played. It's just that Mario Kart's credits do such a good job at reminding you of how memorable your experience was, and to hold on to those memories, alongside crediting the original development team for their work on the game. There's always something about these sequences that screams, hey, think about all the great times and memories you've made, we thank you. It's strangely sentimental, and as much as I hate using the word nostalgic, no matter where you started from. Hell, you could have started with 8 for all I care, but this feeling will stay with you for years to come, and that's the beauty behind Mario Kart's credits. And I'm glad I could remind you of just how impactful they are. Surprise, dude, surprise. You get one last X-Sword appearance before the new year, and wow, what a year it's been. First, I want to say thank you to those watching today, yesterday, tomorrow. If you've watched me at all this year, I just want to say thank you. This past July marked 10 years of being on YouTube, and it hasn't been the smoothest path. However, this year was a real turnaround. I managed to surpass 1,000 subscribers back in March, which allowed me to start earning from my content. And I honestly can't thank you guys enough for just coming around to watch as I was shoveling out Kirby content left, right, and center, but that is what really gave me like the big push to send me over towards 1,000 subscribers. It was a very monumental year to say the least, and going forward, I have some projects in mind. Not a lot of projects, but one specifically. The Chibi Robo Park Patrol retrospective is still in development, and the script is roughly 70% finalized. I'm focusing on gathering gameplay footage alongside finishing the script, so that way editing will be a hell of a lot smoother compared to my previous 2 retrospectives, which by the way, if you haven't seen, please go watch them. I don't want to overload my plate full of video ideas, as balancing that and university does not mix well. But just be warned that if a new Kirby or the next Mario Kart gets announced next year, no, I will drop everything to cover them. But besides those couple of teases, that's all. I'm once again thankful for you watching, and I hope you'll stay tuned and look forward to 2024 for those type of videos. And yeah, with that, this is Xord64, signing off.